good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on what time you're watching this. I'm Chris Corrado, here with another Rock Hill video episode. Today we have on Angela Walker of the Green Party. She is the vice presidential pick for Howie Hawkins. And we're going to ask her some questions and learn more about the Green Party and their stances. As I always like to say, whenever I bring guests on our show, we're not here to bash anybody or praise anybody. We're just here to give them an open forum to talk about the issues.
I'm well, thank you. Thank y'all for having me.
Angela, thank you for coming on today. What would you like to share about yourself, your background, your family, your work?
Well, first off, I'm a dump truck driver, live here in South Carolina, I live in Florence. Still driving a dump truck. Y'all know that construction season is spring and summer for us. So my work days went from an average of 10 and a half hours a day to 12 and a half. So we're hustling. And I am originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have 5 grandkids, 1 kid. She's a total earth mother. So yeah, it is. I'm not good at riffing about like myself. I'm kind of bad at that.
What is your party about? Why are you better and different?
It means that we are an eco-socialist party. What that means is we make the connection between capitalist exploitation of human beings and link that to the capitalist exploitation of the planet, and all of that has to go at the end of the day. We are, I think, most known for standing up for the ecology and having for our peace policies, you know, no nukes and ending the wars around the world that the United States is waging against other countries. Pretty much stuff like that. I mean, I think most people, when you say Green Party, if they do know of us, the first thing they think about is the ecological piece, which is, I would say, a big centerpiece for our party. We're doing what we can to reverse climate change and create conditions where we are building in ways that are good for people, but also within ecological limits, not this aimless, mindless sort of sprawl where you just use and take and have no in a place where we can keep kicking the can down the road with this. We are the only party that has a full strength Green New Deal. You know, the Democrats took it, they watered it down, they gutted it, and then they finally took it off the plate altogether. That was our policy. And ours is full strength. We're talking about community control. We're talking about implementing, you know, a new civilian conservation corps. All of the things that, you know, the Democrats don't want to touch. Ending the use of fossil fuels, phasing those things out, and not going to nuclear. I mean, we've got solar, we've got wind. There's a whole lot of other ways to get efficient power that's clean and still do what we need to do without causing the conditions that we find ourselves in as far as climate change right now. So I think when you say Green Party, most people think eco or peace, and that would be accurate. But we do a lot more than that.
Can you tell us about what you and Howie are working on?
What aren't we working on? I mean, you're talking about building left unity because, you know, we're also the nominees for the Socialist Party of the USA. And so this Red-Green Alliance, which is one step in building left unity, building left solidarity, is something that's been in the works since 2014. So to actually be embodying that in this year where so many unbelievable, unforeseen things are happening is kind of a big deal. And just making sure that, you know, our big thing right now is ballot access, which we're finally wrapping up. I think we're in the last few states, the push for this week with the petitioning and getting information in. couple states that we're suing, to be put on the ballot because we were taken off Democrat Party chicanery, one of which is my home state of Wisconsin. Go Wisconsin. So yeah, we've got a lot going on. You got ballot access, getting the word out, 10 million interviews a day. So we're hustling. We're hustling.
How would you have handled COVID-19?
Well, the first thing you want to do as far as COVID goes is actually bring down the curve. The news that's coming out, I've read like a bunch of recent stories on the fact that the CDC is, that most people are looking to as far as their information in how to handle the pandemic is no longer a trustworthy source. And individual states and localities are and individuals themselves are being encouraged to, use what we found to be the best practices, masking and hand washing, social distancing, self-quarantining and testing. And like if Howie were here, the first thing he would jump up and down with is like test, trace, and isolate, so we can find out, how this is spreading and get infected people the care that they need, which we don't have the infrastructure for, unfortunately. We would if we had Medicare for all, but we do not. So first thing is implementing, Medicare for all. And so you have a national health service to provide that sort of infrastructure, and also a test, trace, and isolate program. And one of the biggest things that we saw with so many people going to their state capitals and they're angry and frustrated about, the quarantines, making sure that people have financial support to keep them going so that if they are required to shelter in place, they're able to do it. And with not looking at being evicted or losing access to the things that they need. So making sure that people are receiving for our platform during the COVID pandemic, every adult would receive $2,000 a month. Every child would receive $500 a month. And also implementing at the federal level, with the ban on, moratorium on rents, paying people who are, landlords and small business owners so that they can keep afloat and keep their obligations, financially without having to lean on their tenants. So, I mean, these are things that this government was able to do and has the money for, as we've seen. They just chose not to do it.
Another thing going on right now are race relations, and we definitely want to find out how you would handle race relations and make things better.
There's a whole lot of things I think that we can do. I think one of the most important things is implementing. First off, you want to make sure that you want to level the playing field, so you don't have this wealth gap between, working class and poor people and middle class folks. So making sure that we implement the economic bill of rights that we have, to get people stable, so that you have housing for all, so that you have, everyone is guaranteed a job, so that everyone has access to, a living wage, and also a guaranteed income above poverty, so that even if you are not able to work or for whatever reason, you can't or choose not to, for whatever reason, because everyone's situation is different, you're still not someone who's falling through the cracks. And so I think leveling the playing field, and also addressing the fact that the war on drugs in this country disproportionately affected negatively Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. And so ending the war on drugs, legalizing and decriminalizing marijuana, and also decriminalizing other drugs for their effect on mass incarceration, and also giving priority to communities that are most harmed by the war on drugs, give them priority in the legal grow industry. And so add that as far as an economic piece as well. And then there's community control of the police, where when we're talking about defunding the police and also the military by 75%, ending the wars abroad, bringing personnel home, bringing those monies home, and reinvesting in infrastructure. When people are calling for defund the police, that's exactly what they're also saying. And reorganizing the work police actually do. 5% of what they respond to is actually violent crime. You don't need to send a police officer who is more than likely not trained in mental health issues when someone is having a mental health crisis, or when you have someone who is houseless that needs help, things like that. But this is where police are going, and they're not handling it right. And reallocating funds so that when you have a situation like what we saw in Atlanta with Rayshard Brooks, when you have someone who simply needed a tow truck and a alcohol counselor, he didn't need a cop. The guy was asleep in a Wendy's in the drive-thru. He didn't need to die for that. And so making sure that we're not sending armed police into situations where their presence is inappropriate. And so just reallocating and emphasizing wraparound services that help communities, and asking police to simply do what they are supposed to do, which is deal with violent crime.
Something we hear about a lot also during every election season is about healthcare. You got totally different opinions on what should be done. Some people believe in Medicare for all, and then there are some who will say, no, we should just leave it up to private companies. What do you think we should do?
Mm-hmm. Well, our Medicare for All is a community-controlled national health service, which means you have the community, the boards that are over this are elected, and they are people who are accountable to the community. Healthcare workers are salaried. So you're taking the cost motive for, and everybody knows this, particularly in poor and working class communities, about, tests that you don't need, or, being run through your doctor appointments, billable hours, got to, move as many people through as fast as you can so you make money. Take that motive out of it, and, improve the quality of care by giving healthcare workers the opportunity to take their time with the people that they're seeing, and make them, these healthcare boards accountable to the people that they're serving. You elect them, you have a direct say in how those services are administered. You're not going through 30 million phone trees trying to find a human being to talk to. And I mean, there's, part of the plan to move, and this is implemented in phases, and also moving big pharma out of the way, things like that. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to it. So if people are like really interested, because go to our website. It's on there. I mean, it's huge. There is a lot to that plan. We're at www.howiehawkins.us. But yeah, there's a lot to that.
Something we hear about a lot during every election season is the economy and improving it. What are your thoughts on how we can improve the economy?
I mean, we favor, and it's no secret, we favor a socialist economy. We favor, community control of the entities that are in those communities. Like, one huge tenet of socialism is workers having control of the means of production. If you work at this factory, you're a part owner of that factory. Everyone there, I know people get their backs up about socialism. We've been red baited a whole lot in this country, but really, people, it is not that scary. But everybody has a say. It's a democratic way of saying, this is what we're producing. This is who's going to receive it. And just, making sure everybody has a say in how this is done. You don't have to have an underclass. There doesn't have to be poor people and people who are continually left out. I mean, if you have folks who are unable to work, they should be receiving and would be under our administration a living wage, guaranteed income above poverty. And for people who are working, raise the minimum wage to $20. I mean, of course, adjusted for inflation, it isn't where we need it to be, but it is better than what we currently have. And raise the wage for all workers. Again, there's a whole lot of pieces to that, and I'm looking at them. But making sure that people have a job guarantee and, homes for all, and shifting to a green economy and creating jobs that are not where we're not just greenwashing, but they're actually green jobs. Manufacturing, transportation, and I want to say finance, but it's definitely manufacturing and transportation, where you are creating jobs that are living wage, that are clean, and that build the infrastructure of the country. We support the Second Amendment. People have the right to keep and bear arms. I think the thing that we differ on is assault rifles, and the fact that, the only thing that most people are using an AK, AR-15 for, you're not hunting deer with that. That's something that has been used for basically hunting people. You can kill a whole lot of people in a very small amount of time. And so we favor, gun control, making sure that people are getting checked, getting background checks, that you are able to have it safely. And, you don't have such a high caliber weapon where you can, we've seen it so many times. I don't even have to go into how many, massacres have happened in this country. But we are definitely people who support the Second Amendment.
What are your thoughts on mail-in voting? Everyone has different opinions on it. Some people think, hey, we should be able to do that. Then some are concerned there's going to be voter fraud. What do you think?
I think it's an option people should absolutely have. We have a global, as you yourself mentioned, we have a global pandemic. And if people remember the spring elections that happened again in my home state of Wisconsin, which made world news, where people, the amount of polling places were greatly reduced. People were out in a pandemic. A lot of the folks who are poll workers are elders and absolutely did not need to be put at risk with this, with COVID-19. It was a hot mess at the end of the day, a hot boiling mess. So people should have the right and be able to vote by mail. I am not, people have been crying voter fraud for years, and by and large, that is not the case. Most folks who are asking for the mail-in option this year are asking because there is a global pandemic, because you don't want to force people who want to be able to exercise their civic right. They shouldn't have to balance that against, am I going to catch something that could potentially kill me simply because I want to go vote? So mail-in ballots should be available to everyone who wants them, and they should, they should be counted the way that they're supposed to be counted. I've got my own personal concerns after some of the things that I saw in Wisconsin. I am very concerned about the way things are going to happen, but people have a right to be able to vote safely. And I support their ability to get mail-in ballots, and the help, folks need help with those, it should be available. COVID has changed the landscape of a whole lot of things. We've been encouraging people who are physically able to be present to be at polling places if they possibly can, and help against efforts at voter suppression and voter intimidation, because there's so many things happening, particularly in Black and brown communities.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. So next question would be, you did briefly talk about this too, about the military and how it should be used. So what would you want to do with the military budget, and when should the military be used?
Well, the military should be used in cases where, obviously, if this country needs defense, of course. But also, if there's a situation where, you've got a genocide, I'm thinking about Bosnia, I'm thinking about Rwanda, where folks need help, and we are able to go in and help. Not just the U.S. by itself, of course, but be part of a coalition that helps, keep people safe, then yes. But as far as the wars of aggression, where basically, you've got something under your sand or your soil that we want, and we're going to come take your natural resources, which is what this country has been doing for I don't know how long. No, we don't have the right to do that. And so we favor cutting the military budget by 75%,
okay,
bringing those personnel home, bringing that money back home, reinvesting that money in the infrastructure of this country, putting military personnel to work, building the infrastructure of this country, and also having an administration where we are moving through the world as good world citizens, moving in a spirit of cooperation, nuclear de-escalation. And I know this sounds pie in the sky to a whole lot of people, but it's possible. We didn't always live with the threat of nuclear war over our heads. Working cooperatively and diplomatically with other countries instead of being aggressive and I'm going to come and take your resources and meddle in your elections and things like that. I think we can do better than this.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So the next one is definitely very, very much geared towards you. Why should Americans vote third-party candidate as opposed to continuing going down, the two-party system way? And how would you tell someone, hey, look, I'm different, and it's not a waste to vote on us?
Well, first thing, I'm never going to ever tell somebody how they should vote. Never. I will never, I can give people what our platform is, what we stand for, but at the end of the day, it is your choice who you want to vote for. And it's not something that anyone should be chastised for or shamed for, which is what we're seeing a whole lot of now.
Yeah.
And as far as talking to people about voting third party and not being afraid to do it because we get called spoilers, my thing is this. And this primarily comes with the Democratic Party, because we interact with a whole lot of people who, most of the people that come at us sideways, that's where they're coming from. And it's like, no, you need to take this to your party. My issue with the Democrats has long been, if you want people to show up and vote for you, you need to give them a platform and candidates worth voting for. If people have to hold their nose and take Pepto-Bismol, we have a problem. And that is your problem, it's not us. So don't come over here with that. And it's just like, I tell people, you vote your conscience. Your vote is your leverage, and your vote is your voice. As cliche and tired as that sounds, your vote really is your voice. And use it to support what you believe in. if you are not being offered the policies that you are asking for, you do not find folks who are as aligned as closely with what you want as possible. Nobody's ever going to be 100%. We're not, no one else is. But if you can't find that, why would you waste your vote on something you don't want? And we tell people that the only vote that's wasted is a vote for something you absolutely have to hold your nose for and like, yeah, I'll this is the best I can get, so I'll tolerate that. That's garbage, and it shouldn't be like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How do you feel? Do you feel like the media gives you a fair shot?
No. The fact that we've gotten more attention in Latin America, India, and Europe than we have in the United States, I think speaks for itself. It would be hilarious if it wasn't so sad. It's like, there is a concerted effort to make sure that third, fourth, fifth, what have you, parties are shut out of the debates, are shut out of media attention, that mainstream media, if you can flag them down long enough to get their attention, it's a 50-50 chance that, they'll portray you fairly and objectively. There's a lot of bias against us. And I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is for parties outside of the duopoly to get any attention at all. It's very difficult.
Well, you always get a fair shot with me, Angela.
I really appreciate that.
No problem at all. So, I think you'll like this next question. I'm excited to hear your answer. If you can get on a debate stage and you got Mike Pence and Kamala Harris right there, what would you say to them? If you had an open forum to just say, hey, I want to tell you why I'm running and I think I could do a better job than you.
Because I'm representing a party that's offering what people are actually asking for.
Oh.
We are actually, Medicare for all is like not something that's ever off the table with us. It's our policy. And it's 84% of this population supports it. Like, marijuana decriminalization is opposite of really no thing.
Welcome back to Season of Shapiro Show. Well, historic things have been happening in the
There's so many, particularly for the Democrats, this was an easy thing to give people. And for them to, dangle it and then take it off the table and they're like, now we're thinking about it, it's insulting. And so, I think, and of course I would, I'm not an adversarial person. And I would, be very cordial about it. But at the end of the day, we are the only party that is offering the policies that we are offering, and the policies that we're offering are what people are asking for and really need right now. People need housing for all. People are ready for Medicare for all. People need a guaranteed income above poverty, especially now. People need green jobs and a job guarantee, and jobs that pay living wages. They need these things. These are not things we can keep, acting like this is an option, especially looking at what we're looking at right now.
Gotcha. Okay. What would you say is a common misconception about you and the party you're running with?
That we're all old white hippies.
Okay.
And I mean, no disrespect to old white hippies. I like old white hippies. However, those aren't the only people in the Green Party. Got a lot of young people. There's a lot of people of color. We want more, of course. Folks with disabilities, folks along the LGBTQIA rainbow, the whole nine. And I think that a lot of the times when you say Green Party to folks, that's like the first image they get in their head is, this old white hippie.
Okay. Any common misconceptions you wanted to share about yourself? Whatever you want.
People think I'm a lot nicer than I am.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so far you're pretty nice to me, so I have no complaints.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
And this leaves me with my final question of the evening. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you'd like to add?
No, I think you touched on like the major things, the life or death issues, which are, nuclear disarmament and de-escalation, reversing climate change, implementing an economic bill of rights, Medicare for all, marijuana decrim, community control of the police. I think you hit on like all of our hot button issues.
Got it. Okay. Well, Rock Hill in the world. We just talked with Angela Walker of the Green Party. Like I said, are you going to be on the ballot in South Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She lives right here in South Carolina, so if you're from the Rock Hill or South Carolina area, you can find them on the ballot. This is the end of the show for tonight. Maybe we'll have Angela again on sometime in the future. But until then, a word from our sponsors.